Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Ray Law International Channel webinar for the month of April. We're so glad that you can join us today. I know everyone is getting ready here, at least in the US, getting ready to file their taxes by the 18th this year. But today what we wanted to do is, touch base and connect with everyone today, answer some of your questions. Also talk today about some of the 5 benefits of the Blanket L. If you don't know what the Blanket L is, you're really going to want to pay attention. Stick around to the end. We're going to give you the 5 top benefits, the 5 main reasons that you want to have a Blanket L for your company. This is going to make the process so much easier, more efficient, and bring your key employees to the United States. Now, also, if you have questions today, please put them in the chat. Don't hesitate. Go ahead and put those in there, and we'll get to them as we go throughout our questions today. And also, if we don't get to them today, you'll go ahead and we'll follow up and touch base with you later. My name is Anthony Ray. I'm one of the immigration attorneys here at Ray Law International. I enjoy meeting new clients and helping companies find solutions to bring people over, especially in this job market that we have where there's so many jobs that are unfilled. I have been practicing for over 20 years, and I work with a wonderful staff to provide excellent service to you. Lauren, go ahead. You're next.
Just waiting for the camera. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren. I'm one of the attorneys here at Ray Law. I've been practicing for about 7 years, doing family-based and business immigration. Like Anthony said, this will be about the L visa, which is employment-based. However, if you do have any questions about your family-based case, also feel free to ask those. We'd be happy to answer them. Or like Anthony said, feel free to just contact us about your case. Other than that, we're excited to talk about this topic for you guys. A lot of employers use this visa. It's pretty much open to anyone who has multiple companies in or related entities in different countries. So we'll go more into the specifics, but for now we'll introduce everybody's favorite person, which is Saki.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from Chicago. My name is Saki. I'm a legal assistant at the Ray Law International. And today Chicago is raining. At least it's more than 60 degrees, so I'm happy about that. And then I guess spring is here. Okay, so let me talk Japanese a little bit. おはようございます。レイローインターナショナルの佐田池と申します。本日はブランケット L ビザに関してのライブストリームを行います。こちらにアメリカに来られている方で、やはりブランケット L を使っている方多いのかと思いますが、もし知らない方もいらっしゃいましたら、ぜひぜひライブストリームを聞いていただいて、また質問等、ありましたらいつでもチャットの方に日本語でも構いませんので、もしくは、弊事務所の電話番号、E メールもございますので、そちらにご連絡いただければと思います。どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。Okay, let's start today's topic. All right, this is a question to Anthony. So what is the L1 category?
Thank you, Saki. So the L1 category is a non-immigrant visa category, employment-based, meaning you have to have the employer sponsor you, and is focused on companies that have multiple offices, usually one office in the US and then also an office abroad. Now, there's a lot of requirements for the L. We're going to get into more details of what those requirements are, but it's an excellent vehicle for, I would say, generally speaking, medium to large companies to move their personnel around the globe. The nice thing about the L is it's not, limited to just one nationality. As long as you're a foreign national, as long as you've been a part of the company for a period of time, and then you're coming here in a specific job category that's designated by the regulations, you're going to have that benefit. Lauren and I will get into more details, but simply put, the L category is really for intercompany transferees, people moving from, let's say, from Germany to the US or from Japan to the US in designated categories.
Thank you, Anthony. Okay, question to Lauren. How does a company qualify for the Blanket L?
Okay, so like Anthony said, the Blanket L is for more medium to large size companies. Well, I guess he was talking about any L, but for the Blanket L, it's going to have to be a medium to large size company, depending on your definition of that. The companies have to be engaged in trade or some sort of services. And you have to have a petitioner in the US, right? It can't just be a foreign entity who wants to bring people over. You have to set up a company in the US, and that company has to be doing business for at least 1 year before you can file for this. You also have to have at least 3 branches. So a foreign entity, the US entity, and then at least one other entity in some other country abroad. And then finally, this is the more difficult one. You need to meet at least one of these 3 criteria. U.S. workforce of at least 1,000 employees. That's pretty big. The U.S. entity has to have at least 25 million in sales. So that's pretty big. Or a smaller company could obtain at least 10 regular L1 approvals within the past year. So if you are a medium-sized company, you could perhaps qualify by obtaining 10 regular L1 approvals in order to get a Blanket L. Saki?
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so the question to Anthony. What are the L1 visa categories?
Very great question. Under the L category, our world is divided into L1A, which encompasses managers and executives. It also includes L1B, which are professionals with specialized knowledge. Also, for our family members, dependents, you can bring them along. Your spouses and children under the age of 21 will be placed in the L2 visa category. Now, the L1A, as I mentioned, are for our executives and managers. There's specific definitions you need to meet in order to qualify. Also, one of the aspects of the L is you have to have been in one of these 3 categories: executive, manager, or person or professional possessing specialized knowledge in the foreign country, not your home country, but in a foreign country outside the US, and then you're coming to the US to fill one of those 3 options. Now, the unique thing between our regular Ls and our blanket Ls is under the blanket L for the L1B, the specialized individuals have to be professionals. That's the key word you're going to be looking for, and that your attorney is going to help you make that fit. Whereas under the regular L1Bs, they don't necessarily have to be professionals in the strict sense that is defined under the regulations under the INA. So those are the categories: L1A, managers, executives; L1B, persons with specialized knowledge; and then our family members, spouses, and children under the age of 21 fall under the L2 category.
Thank you, Anthony. So there are many different categories. Let's break it down one by one. So the first one, Lauren, what are the requirements for the executives?
Yes, there are, Saki. So for an executive, it's basically what you would think of as an executive. So this is going to be someone who's pretty high up in the company. They're making really high level decisions on behalf of the company. They don't have a manager really or oversight unless it's like the board of directors or a CEO or something like that. These are people who sign contracts on behalf of the company. They control part of an entire organization, things like that. So really, if it's pretty general. If you think it's going to be an executive, it's probably an executive position. Saki?
Thank you. Okay, so that one and the next one was the managers. So what are the requirements for the managers, Anthony?
All right, let's move to managers. Now, the managers are a category or is a category that we use quite often out of our firm, especially when we're not dealing with a very large firm, usually medium to small law firms. So under managers, basically what you have to show is the person is in a managerial position as defined under the regulations. Now, there's three ways to look at this. First is our traditional sense of what a manager is. We have our manager, a supervisor, and then the rest of the employees. That's most common. If you have a structure or setup in your organization like that, it makes things easy. But not all companies are created equal. Another way we can fit this definition is the person supervises other professionals. Now, we talked about professionals before. Professionals here are individuals are positions that require four-year degree. Think engineer, think lawyer, think doctor, think accountants. Any position that requires a four-year degree is considered a professional position. So as long as the person is managing, supervising, overseeing that person, they can also qualify. That way, in this option, you don't need to have a three-tiered system. And then finally, there are situations where a person comes to the US, but they're not managing anyone directly. And in this category, we call them functional managers. They function as a manager, but they don't have that three-tier system, or they're not directly supervising professionals. Think of this as a person managing or co-managing a department such as sales or marketing or engineering. They're coming alongside, for example, their American counterpart and helping to manage that person or that group of people. So, or the department. So keeping that in mind, you have those three categories, the three-tier traditional managerial structure, manager, supervisor, and the employees. Second, you're going to have the manager supervising professionals. And then finally, you're going to have the functional manager. Now, we've worked with all of these. They all work. It does take a lot of preparation and understanding, and it may not fit your company's specific language or terminology. That's okay. We're going to make it fit to make sure that it fits the immigration definition based off of the INA, Immigration Nationality Act, and also the regulations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. So the next category was specialized knowledge. That sounds cool, right? Specialized knowledge. What are the requirements for the employees possessing the specialized knowledge, Lauren?
Oh, yeah. Saki cracks me up. So yeah, for the specialized knowledge, that can apply to a lot of things. It can be knowledge that is special to your company. For example, if that person is very skilled in your processes, procedures, maybe you have a patented product or system that you used, that can be specialized knowledge. It can also be more generalized specialized knowledge within that person's field. So let's say that person is an automotive engineer. Maybe their knowledge is not specific to your company. Your company maybe has more basic things, but they know specifically how to do very high level things that maybe a regular person who's an automotive engineer would not be able to do. So the problem with specialized knowledge, it can be a little bit difficult to prove. How do you prove that someone has this really specialized knowledge? So it can be a little difficult, but as long as we can show, especially if that person holds a patent, that's probably the best way to show that they have that specialized knowledge, evidence of training records and things like that. but it is more open-ended, so that's the good thing as well, that it can be more specific to your company as well. So definitely look into that. If you have more, it doesn't even have to be really lower level people. They can have a good salary, but maybe they're not a manager or something like that, and you need to transfer them over. Saki?
Thank you, Lauren. So we got pretty good knowledge for the all categories. So now let's talk about the blanket L. Procedurally, how does the company obtain the blanket L approval, Anthony?
So the blanket L is split into two processes. The first is getting the initial approval. And so the initial approval is going to be approved for a 3-year period. Then prior to the end of that 3-year period, or just when it ends, you're going to want to refile again. The second filing is to remove that 3-year condition and have the blanket L administered or applied indefinitely. That's really what you want, because you don't want to keep applying with the USCIS each time you need to you want to file. So the nice thing with the blanket, this is the company registration. So what you're going to file first is the form I-129. That's the main form. And then you're also going to file form I-129S. I-129S is going to be specifically for your blanket Ls. And then if need be, the I-129L as well. So you're going to fill out those forms. It's not going to be specifically to any individual. It's just based off the company. Now, you're going to want to make sure you not only have the U.S. company information, but all of your subsidiaries that you want to add to your list. We see some companies with just 3 entities listed. We have some companies that have, 30 or 40 companies listed. It really depends on the size of your company, and there really is no limit. The key is any company you want to transfer that person from, they've got to be on the list. So you file the I-129, I-129S, and if possible, necessary, the I-129L, and you file it with the USCIS. We always encourage premium processing, so that's an additional Form I-907 with a filing fee of $2,500. Now, when you file that, it's going to be approved within 15 days if everything is in order. If you're missing information, you're going to get a request for evidence in order to update or supplement your petition so that you get your petition approved. Now, during that 3-year period that it's approved, everything is good. Now, once that 3-year period is up, you're going to have to file again, and you're going to file for the indefinite authorization. The nice thing again about the indefinite, you're not filing this every 3 years for the company. Now, throughout the first 3 years, you continue to file for your blanket Ls directly at the U.S. Embassy. We'll get into that a little bit. And then once your new blanket or company blanket petition is approved indefinitely, then you really need to update all your employees so that they have no problems at the port of entry when they enter the United States. So that's a little bit about the procedure. One last thing, if you need to update, let's say you want to add or remove a company, you can amend your company petition at any time. And we encourage that you do that, especially if you want to add someone. So if you have a new company that you formed in Vietnam, you're going to want to get the company information from Vietnam, pull that together with the U.S. entity, and then amend the company blanket petition. Try to keep things in perspective. We have the company petition that's getting approved on the blanket side, and then once that's done, we have the individuals getting approved at the U.S. embassies and coming over to the U.S.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. One more question to Anthony. So how can a company lose the blanket L approval? Like how they keep this blanket L?
So one of the ways that a company could lose the status is, let's say we have a financial downturn. And in that sense, they close offices like we experienced in 2007 and 2008. When those entities close, they may no longer meet the multi-country or multinational aspect of the blanket. So using the blanket when you don't qualify for it is misrepresentation for an immigration benefit, which could bar an individual, firstly, but then also the company uh, for getting a benefit which they did not actually qualify for. Now, you want to communicate often with your immigration attorney and keep us updated. All too often, the immigration attorneys are the last to hear about this, or when an employee is being transferred back or they want to bring a new one on, this new information is given to the immigration attorney. Keep your immigration attorney up to date so that we can advise you on the changes that need to be made or whether you no longer qualify for the blanket. So closing of companies is probably the most common way where a company will lose sort of their blanket L status.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. So I guess we got the basic idea of what the blanket L and what's the L categories and everything. So now we're going to talk about what are the benefits. So let's start from the top five. So start from the bottom. Number five. Lauren, what is the number five benefit of the blanket L?
Yeah, so for this one, I would say it would be that there is no quota or limit for the amount of employees you can bring over on this visa. The biggest problem people see if they want to bring over professionals or even managers is that if we try to do the H-1B, there's only one H-1B lottery per year. So if you miss it in March, you're waiting for the next one. So I literally just had someone contact me about he's a professional, wants to get a visa. He has to wait till next year to apply for that H-1B. The second one is you may not get selected in the lottery. It is a lottery. So if you're not selected, well, then you're kind of out of luck. You need to look for a different visa. With the L visa, as long as you've been working abroad for 1 year, there is no limit. You can send as many people over as long as they qualify on this visa. So pretty good there, especially for professional and type of workers. Saki?
Thank you. All right. So the benefit number four. Anthony, what is the number four benefit of the blanket L?
Yeah, the number four benefit of the blanket is unlike the H-2B and the H-1B, there is no limit that you're going to be faced with, meaning you can file and bring over employees in January, February, March, every month. When you need them, you can get them here. Whereas if you look at the H-1B or the H-2B and some of the other categories, you're sort of locked in to waiting to when those visas become available, just like Lauren mentioned. So L1 blanket, just meet the requirements, get it approved, get your employee here. You can get them working immediately when you need them to work. So this is the number four benefit of the blanket L.
Thank you, Anthony. All right, so let's go to the numbers three. What is the number three benefit of the blanket L, Lauren?
So for this one, for me, I would say this is the number one, but this is Anthony's list. So for Anthony's number three, this would be that it's really, really streamlined. You do not have, once your blanket L is approved, each person that you send through, just make them an appointment at the U.S. Embassy and they process everything through the embassy. There is absolutely no need to file with USCIS. We find the embassies to be a lot easier to work with oftentimes. USCIS can be a lot more stringent, especially with those specialized knowledge workers. So for me, when people have a blanket L, I'm just like, yes, we just have to work with the consulate. For me, it's the number one, but there are other benefits, so we'll go to those next. Saki?
Thank you, Lauren. All right, next one's number two. Okay, what is the number two benefit of the blanket L? Anthony?
Absolutely. So the number two that we see our clients really love about the blanket L is that you can bring over young professionals. For example, if you have a young professional that's just 1 year out of college and they have been with the company for 1 year, then they can qualify and you can get them here right away. Under the Blanket L, you can bring over professionals. A lot of big companies do this for engineers and other professionals. They may not, some of the older guys like myself, we don't want to uproot the whole family. We got kids in college. You don't want to leave your country and bring the whole family to the US. So younger employees are ideal for coming to the US and working for anywhere from 3 to 7 years. So the benefit of this is you can bring over people as long as they have 1 year of experience and they're professionals. They can get on the plane, get over here, and get the job done for you. Whereas other categories, you got to wait. You need more experience, or, for example, specialized knowledge under the regular category may be very difficult with the USCIS, as Lauren mentioned, but with the embassy in this category, they hit 1 year, engineer, professional, they can come in. That's a great benefit to a lot of our companies and clients.
All right. Thank you, Anthony. And we would like to move for number one. However, well, this is not TV show, so it's not going to the commercial. Instead of that, we're just gonna go do the little coffee break questions. And after that, we're gonna go back to number one. So today's the coffee break question. What's the best place you've traveled to? Let's start with Anthony.
Okay, what's the best place I traveled to? This is a tough question for me because there's been various places that I've traveled to that are just wonderful and fabulous. But for today's conversation, I am going to pick Taiwan. One of the reasons I enjoy Taiwan, really the food, the culture, the people, everything that comes with the country is just fun and exciting. I can use Chinese, which is great. And it's very laid back. So hopefully after, things open up a little bit, I'll be able to go out and visit again. I have some friends there that I haven't seen in years. But I just enjoy, you have the mountains, you have a lot of the tropical aspects of the island, and the food is just off the charts. It's just great. And the people, the sense of humor, the easygoingness, openness, and frankness. I just really love the environment there. So that's one of the, favorite places that I've been to and vacationed in.
Thank you. How about you, Lauren?
So I'm kind of like Anthony. I like a little bit of everything. So I guess I'll just go with where I went recently that I really liked, which was Mexico City. I went to Mexico City, ate a lot of really good food. It's really beautiful there. It's very tropical looking with all the plants, and just a lot of culture and things to do. So that was really cool. What about you, Saki?
Same. So I went to a few places. My favorite can be Germany. Germany is a good place to go too. I went there because I love German food and then German snacks. I'm a big fan of Haribo gummies. So I went to Bonn City, that's where the Haribo is from. And I went to the actual factory. And then they have a store at the factory, which was like a dream of dream, like 360 degrees. All you see is the Haribo gummies. Like it was a heaven. Oh, I mean, there's so many beautiful places in the Germany, great food. But so far, yeah, that's my favorite place. All right, we're done with the coffee break. So now going back to the what's the benefit number one? Who's answering? It's Lauren. Lauren, so what's the number one benefit of the Blanket L?
So Anthony's number one benefit for the Blanket L, which is a good one as well, is the filing fees. USCIS has a lot of filing fees, especially if you want someone in quickly. You have to pay $2,500 per person to get that premium processing. But for Blanket L, all you have to do is process them through the consulate. So the filing fees for the consulate are a lot less. I believe we'll talk about that in a bit, but way less per person. You can potentially have the beneficiary pay that filing fee. So it's going to save the company a lot of money, especially if they're bringing in a lot of people. Saki?
Thank you. So we got all top 5 of benefit, and then of course we need to know the negative side too, right? So what should I do if my blanket L1 is denied at the embassy?
Yeah, this is something you do not want to face. One of the things before we get into the specific mechanics or steps that you need to take, one of the things a lot of people don't tell you is once you have a denial at the US Embassy, that sticks with you for life. It's always a red flag. It's always going to be something you're going to have to deal with. So let's take, for example, uh, an individual who's coming over would like to come over on an L1A, and they also would be eligible for the visa waiver program. A lot of people call that ESTA through the registration of the ESTA system. Well, a denial of a visa will impact your ability to use that visa waiver program for the rest of your life. And so when we file, we really do take these things very seriously. It can be very challenging. So you always want to make sure you have everything organized. So what do you do if your visa stamp is denied? First of all, we always tell the applicants when they're there, make sure they understand or ask the specific reason for the denial of their case. The reason for this is the Department of State, through the U.S. embassies, do not provide a written decision like they do with the USCIS and other agencies. So if the applicant doesn't listen or take notes or understand the reason for the denial, really the attorney, the company, is at a loss of what they need to do to overcome that obstacle. So repeat, write down the denial. Immediately when you come out, write on a piece of paper, type it up, send it to your company so that we have all the details of what the U.S. Embassy is actually looking for or what may have been lacking. Now, we usually don't have this issue. Maybe in the past 20 years, once or twice, we may have experienced this. But what I hear from other companies or people who do not qualify is, for example, maybe they don't have enough experience to meet the requirements. Maybe they don't have that 1 year experience. Or maybe they're going for a managerial position and they're only 1 year out of college, and the officer just doesn't believe that they would qualify as a manager or an executive. There are a lot of subjective reasons for denial that are not easily overcome. They may think that you're just too young to do the job. They have the discretion to make that decision, and nothing you can do can overcome that or convince them. Now, the officer will always tell you, oh, just reapply when you want. And that's a real misleading context because reapplying is going to get you the same result. Typically, more time, a change in circumstances. So if experience is the problem for the denial, get the experience, file 2 or 3 years later, and then try again. Now, remember, with the denial, you're not going to qualify for ESTA anymore. You're going to need a visitor's visa stamp, a B1, B2, in order to visit the US. And that may be also a challenge because right after you got denied for a work visa, they think that your intent is going to be to come to the US to work, not just visit. So, not getting a denial is so critical. That's why don't take a chance, have an attorney, get involved. Don't use travel agencies that don't care or don't have any responsibility or, skin in the game. You really want to have an attorney to make sure that everything is set up properly so that you avoid denials.
Okay, Anthony, thank you very much. good to know. I guess we all need to prepare when you're going to the interview for even it's an embassy, even job interview, you always need to be prepared. Okay, so Lauren, what sort of filing fees should I expect?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, it is a lot cheaper to go through the consulate. The visa fee is only $190 per person. Recently, the consulates have also given you two options to receive your passport back from them. So you give them your passport, they stamp that official visa stamp in your passport, and they send it back to you. Well, now you also have the option to pick it up at one of their locations. So picking it up is free, and then each consulate has a different fee for how much it's going to be to send the packet back to you. So it's up to you if you want to go pick it up. They all have different locations where it's going to be. It might be at the actual embassy. It might be a third location that's nowhere near where you're staying. So definitely figure out where that is going to be before you elect to do that. Also make sure that you have the proper identification to obtain your passport, because you don't have your passport, but you need to prove it's you. So make sure you can do that. Otherwise, it's not going to be too much, probably just enough to cover the shipping, 10, 20, $30 to have them ship it to you. And then it'll go right to that address that you're requesting. So really not too much to get that visa stamp back from you. Saki?
Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so Anthony, these days we've been going through so many different changes, including the COVID, um, things happening in the world. But so is immigration. Do you have any recent issue you notice?
Anthony, you're on mute.
Saki, there's a ton of issues that we can discuss today. And the first one, I had something scheduled regarding the transfer of underlying basis for Form I-485. But the first one I wanted to start off with is also very important, is recently the Department of State, and this is in regards to Ukraine, the government issued a TPS for 18 months, temporary protected status. Now, temporary protected status is a special designation granted, of course, temporarily for a period of time by the government for individuals from countries where there's a disaster, humanitarian issue that really needs to be addressed. And we've seen this for earthquakes, we've seen this through hurricanes, war, all various reasons that TPS is issued. So one of the great things that has happened this year recently is the government has issued TPS for 18 months. It's a year and a half, which is beautiful. The problem we have is the majority of the people who really need it are abroad. The government has talked about bringing in refugees, but up to 100,000 refugees, but that's a process within itself. So that's one of the things. I don't know if Lauren wanted to kind of comment on any experience she's seen with the TPS or Ukrainian situation. But another thing, locally, we've seen a lot of organizations stepping up and helping individuals, especially college students who are here studying. They can't go back home. They don't have money to pay tuition. Universities are, stepping up. So the community is really wrapping around the Ukrainian people during this dire situation. Any other thoughts you wanted to?
Yeah, so they have announced too that Ukrainian citizens are eligible for humanitarian parole, and they're going to give special weight to Ukrainians trying to enter the U.S. using humanitarian parole. So if you can enter on humanitarian parole, then you can apply for that TPS potentially. I'm not sure when the cutoff date is, but that could be an option as well to get paroled in and then change your status to some other status. Could be a work visa, could be the L, could do the L visa, depending on your company. So there's things that Ukrainians can do to get in the U.S. right now.
One other thing, Saki and Lauren, I wanted to mention is the Ukrainian, for people who are trying to get to the U.S., whether humanitarian may be uh, difficult or challenging, or a refugee may be time consuming, or whether showing up the border may be challenging. I know they're starting to let people in, about 10,000 so far in the past 2 months at the borders. But another way to come in, which a lot of our clients are doing, is through employment-based visas. So those individuals that qualify as a professional, H-1Bs, or if they have companies in the Ukraine and they want to transfer people, or other parts of Europe, they can transfer those employees to the U.S. They don't have to wait temporarily or be stuck in a war situation. We can get those individuals to the U.S. and allow them to work and financially get the means to help their families back in the Ukraine. The one point for TPS that was effective from March 1st, 2022. So reach out to us if there's any more details you want regarding TPS for Ukrainians. A lot of attorneys are, reaching out and supporting our Ukrainian brothers and sisters out there.
I see. Okay, so that for employment visa, like including the H-1B, like Lauren, do you have anything to update for H-1B?
Well, those people would have had to have already applied for the H-1B lottery, but yes, any U.S.-based company can sponsor someone for H-1B. So hopefully, if you needed to do that, you got everyone you wanted in that selection, or put them in the lottery. We did have an initial selection, and we expect there's going to be another one probably sometime in July. And then the past couple years, they have done it again in October, November. So we should be able to get more people in there. And then I think Anthony wanted to talk a little bit about delays as well, specifically with all the, I think with DACA you were going to say, Anthony. What do you want to bring up about that?
Yeah, first of all, before we get to the delays, because that's a huge topic in and of itself, but DACA, one of the new things that is happening is DACA is going online, everybody. So slowly the USCIS is getting to online filing. So hopefully not only online filing they get to that point, but we also want to be able to submit all our supporting documents as well. But online filing for DACA renewals right now are coming online. So now there's pros and cons to filing online. And for our firm personally, we usually file everything directly with the government because we can package everything in, track it, make sure it gets there. There's no computer glitches. One of the things an attorney, I believe in the New Jersey area had, that attorney had filed numerous N-400s online and the system went down. So how do you get information? How do you do things when the government system goes down? So there are pros. The one nice thing is you can do everything from your computer. It's easy to submit, make all your payments. The downsides is, and still are, sometimes the computer systems don't work the way they're supposed to, and which is very common with our government immigration systems, whether it's the online system or various other systems that we use in our practice. You have to be ready for those downtimes and glitches in the software. So that's a great news for DACA recipients. Let's see if they gave us a date. It should be sometime this fiscal year. So go ahead and look for that coming. And we'll keep you, for our DACA recipients who file with us, reach out to us. We'll, let you know whether we're going to file it online or through the regular processing. Now, filing online doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be processed quicker. There's no guarantee, but keep that in mind as we move forward. Any other comments on DACA before we move to another topic?
No, I believe Saki was going to talk a little bit about L2 beneficiaries and how they can work now without an EAD. So it kind of goes with our topic right now. But yeah, Saki, take it away.
Was I?
Well,
Continue.
just, I mean, they can work without an EAD. That's basically all it is. I guess I'll take it. They can work without an EAD now. Previously, they were filing with EADs, or sorry, filing for EADs, but now the USCIS. Well, previously they stated, okay, yes, there was a court case and no EADs are going to be needed, but they had to figure out in their system how they were going to denote whether someone was an L2 spouse or a child, right? Because children aren't allowed to work, but the spouses are. So they finally fixed that. USCIS is going to send people who recently filed for EAD or L2 status notice that denotes that they are a spouse, so they can show it to their employer. Whereas if you came in through CBP and CBP issued you your I-94, CBP being Customs and Border Patrol, so you came through the airport or some other port of entry, CBP is automatically updating those. So sorry, Saki. Saki doesn't like to improvise. She seems like she does, and she makes me laugh, and she thinks it's fun and games. But I throw it back at her, and she doesn't want to
She
help me
knows.
out with this topic. So
She knows her stuff. She knows her.
she does. She just panics for improvising.
Yeah,
So
you saw it on my
sorry,
face.
Saki. She knows that. She knows. But
So,
anyway, Anthony, did you have any other topics?
yeah, I wanted to jump into the delays. This is a big one for everyone. So, if you know anything about immigration in the last probably 6 years, immigration delays are everywhere. Things that used to take 3 to 4 months are taking a year. And it's really frustrating our clients and everyone out there because you always get, oh, my friend just got it approved in 3 months. Why is it taking so long? And when you look at the processing times by the USCIS, you see outrageous times like 4 or 5 years for a simple I-130. It's crazy. So, everyone is frustrated. Now, the great thing about this is the USCIS acknowledges this issue after being sued multiple times by various groups and everything. But one of the things that they put out recently was, how are they going to fix this problem? How are they going to get rid of these backlogs so that we can get back to normal and that you can be, get your family member quicker to the US from Jamaica or Haiti or wherever so that everyone can move on with life. We're hoping that after this whole COVID crisis and everything that's going on, that we'll be able to move forward and, take care of this. So here's some basic information. This is the goals they're looking for. This doesn't mean that they're there yet. This is what they're looking to achieve. The first is their I-129, I-140 premium processing. They're going to get those down to 2 weeks. No questions asked, keep those at 2 weeks. Now, one thing regarding premium processing, which we hadn't mentioned specifically yet, is premium processing will be expanded throughout this year for other benefits, immigration benefits. So as it gets phased in, we'll do short videos on what those are. So stay tuned, check our YouTube channel, and we're going to update you and let you know as those things are rolled out, such as premium processing for EADs and other categories which we're waiting for. Of course, it's not going to be free. You're going to have to give the government a lot of money, but they're going to get it done quickly, which is going to allow you, for example, to get that job that you've been waiting for or take that offer that's been offered to you so you can start working. Now, I-129s, they're going to get down to 2 months. That would be great. Right now, I think they're anywhere, Lauren, Saki, correct me, 4 to 6 months. What are we looking at for I-129s? How long?
It depends on the service center. So I hate when people ask me this because I always have to say, well, it could be 4 months and it could be a year. Like there's not a good, that's not even a time frame, right? That's just like, we don't know, but that's kind of what we see with the government. Once you file and you receive your receipt notice, so you know what center is processing your case, then you can get more specifics, but a lot of it does depend on that service center.
Yeah, it's really tough guys out there, for us as attorneys, as professionals, to give really clear answers to you so you can make your business and family decisions. But that's what they're looking at for H-1Bs, I-129s. That includes your H's, R's, L's, O's, P's, all of those. They're going to try to get those down to 2 months, which would be great because you don't need the premium processing. Who wants to give the government $2,500 just so they process it quickly when they should be doing it in 2 months? Now, the forms for 3 months: work permits, I-765s, I-131 advanced paroles, 539s, and 824s. If you don't know what 824 is, that's requesting action on an approved petition or application. Let's say you want a duplicate approval notice, or you want to change or transfer your case from adjusting status in the US to changing that to consulate processing for whatever reason you may have. So those are going to be, the goal is 3 months. And for a large majority of cases, they want to get those to 6 months, which would be great. That includes your N-400s. I remember when we had N-400s that, from filing to swearing in, they were done in 4 months. But here, they're going to try to get that down to 6 months. That includes 485s, I-140s, I-130s, I-129Fs, fiance visas. They're going to get those down to 6 months. Appeals and motions to reopen, those are going to be reduced to 6 months. And then special immigrants, I-360s. So for a more complete list, reach out to us. We'll keep you updated as we actually see improvements in these areas. And we hope the government continues on this path to making the process, reducing the delays, getting these cases done, because that's going to help everything move quicker through the immigration process. Anything to add before we wrap up today? No?
Not on my end, no. Sorry.
Okay. Well, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is below, on the tickler system there. Go ahead and reach out to us. Vladimir and others are waiting to take your call and to help you with your immigration case and process. For our employers out there, we work with employers throughout the U.S. and throughout the world to support HR and senior managers to help get those employees and key employees to the United States so that operations can continue and move forward. We're here for you. We're accessible. Thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.